So this year I finally had the opportunity to go to the E3. It was my first time in America and I was ready to meet and connect with a lot of people from the VR industry and check out the latest games and experiences. And that's what today's video is going to be all about. I'm going to tell you a good story, an awesome one, of what I have been doing in the United States. So yes, I hope you are all going to enjoy this video. It's going to be an absolute blast, and we are going to start off with a little compilation of what me and my brother have been doing in the city of Los Angeles. Here we go.
My guy's from Holland. They out here in Hollywood. This is Smarty Gang. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, that's what me and my brother were up to just after we arrived in LA. That's all we could do, right? Just hop into a car and enjoy the city life. We just had a 12-hour flight. We were looking to relax, so being in LA was great. We went to all kinds of places, not only Griffith Park, Hollywood Boulevard and Venice Beach. Those are the casual tourist locations, I know. LA has so much more in store, but I had the time of my life. The sun was shining, the sky was blue. It seems like it's always sunny in LA. Well, here in the Holland land, it's usually depressing, it's raining, but there it was just like an Instagram filter over the city that would never stop, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I've been rambling for way too long about our adventures within the inner city, within downtown. It's time to talk VR. It's time to talk about the E3. As you may know, the Electronic Entertainment Expo is a major trade event for the video game industry. It is used by many developers, publishers and hardware manufacturers to introduce and advertise their upcoming games. So this year E3 was an interesting one for VR. Most companies didn't show off that much VR, but behind the scenes there was a lot of activity. For the public eye, there was a booth from Bethesda where they were showing off two of their VR titles, Prey Moon Crash and Wolfenstein Cyberpilot. Facebook Gaming had a small island with Moss, Echo Combat and Defector. Ubisoft was showcasing Transference. HTC had the Vive Pro plus a wireless Intel Y-Gig on display. Survios went for Creed and Electronauts. Rebellion came with Arkan's Path. And last but not least, PlayStation was definitely stealing the show with their killer lineup. This E3 was packed with highly anticipated games. Sadly, most of them were for PC or console. It wasn't really about VR, and we have seen that last year as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. VR is still a niche market, but we're getting there. The tipping point is coming. Beware. So yeah, most of us were just waiting for the press conferences to happen. That's where the big VR titles were about to get announced. So I watched a couple, and the best one was definitely Sony. They were just killing it once again with all their games they were going to bring to PlayStation VR. And then when they came to the E3, they were pretty much the star of the entire show. They had about 12 new VR games that the public could play. Titles such as Vacation Simulator, Trover Saves the Universe, Beat Saber, Tetris Effect, Ghost Giant and many more were stealing people's hearts and preached the power of VR. I'm afraid that without PlayStation VR and their VR content, the show would have been a sad party. They were carrying virtual reality throughout the E3. Most of the PSVR games I played at E3 were great and are definitely going to push the industry forward. One of my favorites was Vacation Simulator. Alchemy Labs has reinvented Job Simulator once again and turned it into a fresh and sunny adventure. Also, my guilty pleasure has to be Trover Saves the Universe. Meeting Squanchtendo, the passionate team behind this genius title, was awesome, and playing it was a pleasure for the eyes. Trust me, I had a good laugh. Also, it's not Squanchtendo, it's Squanch Games, but I still think their previous name was badass. I mean, let's be honest here. Anyway, let's move on to Bethesda. Next to their huge area for Fallout 76, Rage 2 and Elder Scrolls, they had a couple of VR setups. The setups were classic Bethesda. They were letting people play in a glass cubicle, so consumers had the opportunity to take a peek. Smart trick and very effective. The first game I got to play there was Prey Moon Crash. This was an escape room type of experience that was set in the universe of Prey. The entire thing took place within the famous office that can also be visited in the pancake version. What you had to do in this experience was solve a bunch of puzzles and fight mimics to trigger a special event. Overall, the objectives you had to do were pretty easy, straightforward, but that didn't matter because being in Prey was a fantastic feeling. One of the developers joined me while I was playing it, and we had a lovely conversation about how this experience came to life and what he personally worked on. It's always a pleasure to meet the people behind the games, because they are the ones that make the magic happen. In the end, Prey Moon Crash was a short experience and took only 15 minutes to finish. Luckily enough, there will be more VR content of Prey coming soon. I wish they made a full Prey VR game, but I think that right now, an experience like this one is already a huge step into the right direction. Next up was Wolfenstein Cyberpilot. In this game you played as a hacker who could jack into all kinds of enemies we know from the main games. In this specific demo at E3, they were only letting you play as the Panzerhund. First they were putting me in a chair to then take me to the main menu. That looked awesome, by the way. There were screens everywhere around me, not a surprise when you play as a hacker of course, and my mission was to hack into the feed of this mechanical dog and take out as many Nazis as I could. After diving into the systems, I could finally take control over the Panzerhund. I started in an old subway that I recognized from the new Colossus. From there I moved through the dark tunnels into the inner city. With the Panzerhund you were able to use a Flammenwerfer, also known as a flamethrower, against the enemies and also run into and over them by using several dash attacks. It played arcadey but felt so satisfying. In the full game you will be able to hack into different mechs and crush your foes. Everything Bethesda did this year was wireless, and that's such a good sign. I was surprised that all of their setups at the show floor were untethered. That means that we are slowly heading towards a market where wireless VR becomes mainstream. In collaboration with HTC, they were using the new Vive Pro 2.0 base stations, controllers, and Intel's WiGig technology. I had never played untethered before, and I can tell you that it was such an odd experience. It was like some sort of phantom pain. I constantly wanted to hop over a cable that wasn't there. I felt so free. The connection was super impressive and worked really well. I barely noticed any delay. The transmission between audio and visual data was so smooth. The weight of the Vive Wireless Adapter was nicely balanced on top of my head, and I was surprised how small the battery pack was. After I tried all of this, I knew that the future of VR is wireless. Oh, the excitement is real, I know. I can't wait until everyone owns a wireless HMD. So, the rest of the E3 was, let's say, fairly calm. There was an Indicate area with some unique VR stuff, from escape titles to healthcare projects. A few companies like Cybershoes were showing off their latest loco solutions. There were a few wild VR parties out there, and Oculus dropped a new gameplay of Stormland. Of course, there was a lot more going on behind the scenes and outside of the E3. Some people said that this year's E3 wasn't great in terms of VR, but personally I have to disagree. There was so much more to it than meets the eye. It's just that developing a solid VR title takes time, and it's quite normal that devs and publishers are waiting to showcase their experiences and games to the big public. And that's about it. I want to thank you all so much for the support, because without you guys, I would have not been able to go to the E3 in the first place. And in my opinion, this was a successful E3 for me personally, but also for the VR industry. I was able to meet so many passionate and awesome people that work within the VR space, and on the show floor there were so many games and experiences. Yes, I know there could have been so much more, but you need to understand that as a developer, it takes a while to create a solid title. You want to show off your game at the right moment. You want to be sure you are ready, because if you are going to the E3 and you made a half-baked title, then people are not going to appreciate that. So just wait for it. All the developers and publishers out there, they are cooking up something fantastic, I'm sure, but maybe we will see that at the next E3 or some other event. Who knows? Time will tell. Anyways, now it's time for me to sign off. And as I always say, and I see ya guys next time. See you in the metaverse. Bye bye. See ya later.